Hi, I'm Mark Anthony Turner, author of Maldine, Cyberdon, and Spectre Flatfoot, and I'm here with another writing tip. Every story has one, or at least all the good ones. That one eccentric character with the quirk or odd way of behaving that draws him to the reader's eyes. A character that adds flavor and some fun to the telling of the tale. The eccentric character. And that's what our writing tip is about today. First, let's clear some things up. Eccentric does not have to mean crazy, although it often does. An eccentric character is a little bit sideways of the norm, something about him that makes him or it stand out. It could be the way he dresses, or the way he acts, or even something he carries. Um, the old lady, for instance, carrying a log that talks to it, like out of a certain past TV series. But also eccentric is a physicist who loves to play the bongos. That's actually a real life example. Real life physicist Dr. Feynman loved to play the bongos. But you start by first realizing what constitutes normal for the world in which you write, and then deciding what quirks would make someone stand out. But don't just make them random quirks. Everything has to have a reason, even eccentric characters. Uh, the character must have a developed personality that out of which these apparent quirks would make sense. It's just in the context of the rest of the world where they seem odd. And remember to keep things consistent. He can have more than one little quirk, but they must all fall out of the main reason for having them at all, his personality, background, and whatnot. Also, an eccentric character doesn't always have to be comedy relief. In fact, it can be an otherwise very serious and important character, just has a little oddball side thing going on. Something about him that stands out above the rest. This also implies you should not have too many eccentric characters crowded together, or none of them will be eccentric anymore. That suddenly becomes the norm. Usually about one such character per grouping of characters is plenty fine. It could be something as simple as a certain favored TV show, as the guy that always has a packet of jelly babies on hand because he just loves to snack on them. Or maybe he tripped on acid one too many times in the past and just burned out a part of his brain. He might dress differently, behave oddly, or whatever, because maybe he came from a foreign culture where that sort of behavior or clothing is perfectly normal. But outside of his environment, he gets all the odd looks. Of course, he really could be crazy, but that doesn't mean completely random, and it doesn't mean that he's an unimportant character. For instance, in Maldine, I have a wizard by the name of Poetar that is completely off the deep end, off his rocker and nuts. And there's specific reasons in his past as to why he's this crazy. He's a powerful wizard who's crazy, and that's not a safe combination. But just being crazy doesn't mean that he's after world conquest or things like that. There are specific things that he wants that falls within the parameter of his insanity. But within that, his moods are completely unpredictable. And one of his other quirks is he wears a hood. Now, the reason for this hood is because he is uglier than ugly. And his favorite way of driving somebody else insane is to occasionally dehood himself and give everybody a good long look at what ugly really looks like. But again, he's highly eccentric and yeah, it's safe to say he's the most eccentric character I've ever written. But within that, he does have specific goals. The goals may not sound all that sane to anyone in the outside world, but they're goals that to him and his little world make sense. Um, and there's also something to be said about how eccentric such a character should be. Well, the bigger the story, the more room there is for an extreme eccentric without crowding out all the other characters. Poatar is very eccentric, but then again, we're talking about a series that's 13 books, and probably about the biggest story you're going to see. So there's plenty of room for him, uh, and a few other characters. The trick is to make eccentric characters stand out, not take over. Uh, Amaldine, for instance, it's big enough. There are other eccentric characters, not all of them as big and off the deep end as old Poe, and they are fairly widely spaced. Um, in fact, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think too many of them ever really meet. with one group of characters, for instance, and you'll meet him about 2/3 of the way through the first Maldine book. He's a character called Laurel. His eccentricity comes from something that his conscious personality is really completely unaware of, and it triggers on it. He basically has a weird extreme form of lycanthropy, and it triggers under like a full moon, fire, intense emotions. The list begins getting longer and longer and longer. And his thing is, he hates pain, he loves pain, therefore he has to have it. And this gets him and others into a bit of trouble. And he basically actually is comedy relief and some other things. So there's if a big enough story there is plain enough room for eccentric characters. You just have to make sure, however many you have, or even if it's just one, that it's there to accent either the character or the situation. You like I said, you want them to stand out, not take over. That has been another writing tip, and read you later.